Welcome to episode 350 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Vision Pro, Mac, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. And we have some guests this week. Guy Serle is back on the show. Great to see you, Guy. How you doing?
Well, thank you. I didn't even realize this was show 350.
It is.
Until you said it, even though it's like in great big huge letters there on the show.
350 episodes.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And also great to be here is Chuck Joyner. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing good, Dave. I'm doing good. I'm like a bad penny. You can't get rid of me.
Yeah. We always love having you on the show. It's always good. Well, you're always welcome, and so is Guy, and so is Marty. How you doing, Marty Jencius?
Let me explain what today was like for me.
Okay.
The shirt that you see me wearing is the shirt that I wore all day, but it wasn't until the minute I was leaving the restroom to go in to teach my class that I noticed that there was a label sticking out of the side, and then realized I had been wearing my shirt inside out all day. Nobody said anything.
Yeah, well.
So actually, you're getting the dirty side of the shirt.
Okay.
In this podcast.
All right, good.
Yeah, well, yeah, but is it that they didn't want to say anything or they didn't notice?
I don't know.
I'm
Maybe,
not sure.
yeah, I could be invisible to a lot of people.
I would feel bad either way.
Yeah. So I'm glad to be here because this is the funnest hour of the week.
It is.
And then Chuck's is the second funnest hour of the week for me.
And that's how you got greeted here, Marty, by somebody saying that you're basically irrelevant no matter whether they commented or didn't.
Yeah.
So I want to be promoted to the first funnest hour of the week.
Gotta get a promotion here. All right.
Yeah.
Got the usual things this week. In touch with Vision Pro, in touch with Mac, Beta, and all kinds of news. There's just always something to talk about with Apple this week. But as we always start every week, we're going to start with Vision Pro 2.4 Beta. VisionOS has been released, and it has the developers now on this Beta 4 on 2.4. There really isn't much on there that I can really think of. And we've also got the link to the developers' notes. And what did you see, Marty, when it came to the beta?
Just mainly changes in some of the programming, and it's mainly meant for cleaning up some programming mess from what I could tell. But it's always a challenge every week when you look at the developer notes to try and figure out what's really new in this beta, because they get rid of the past developer notes so you can't compare them side by side. And if you look at any of the reports, they will announce stuff that has already happened as being new with this beta. So tough to tell.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I installed it and checked, and I didn't find much. One thing I did want to talk about is one of the changes is guest mode, and that has gotten vast improvement here. I have an article here from the Apple Insider. I thought it'd be something we should talk about a little quick here. As he says, and I agree, guest mode is not perfect, but it's much better than it was. I think some good quality life improvements. Namely, the settings can be saved for a session to prevent repetitive setups, and then passing the headset back and forth, which is helpful. Like control center is much easier to get to. As I remember when I first got the Vision Pro, and then trying to figure out the look of my hand with my eyes and not turn my head to look at it, and get the menu to come up and pinch and be able to get to it. Now I'm a master at it, but I did hand it off to my wife so she could watch some videos, and it was pretty flawless when it came to doing that. I didn't have to go through the whole rigmarole of doing the eye scans and doing a full out setup. That they've made it a lot easier. Have you done any guest setups in yours?
Yeah, I did it with my son, yeah. And it was a little creepy because it didn't require him to or to me approve guest. He just went in and put my numbers in, and it worked fine for him. But I have noticed that if you offer it to a guest, you will get a pop-up message. The guest will get a pop-up message asking, we noticed, do you want to go into guest mode?
Mhm.
And that happens pretty consistently. And then you also, if you are on the same Wi-Fi and the same, not just the same Wi-Fi, but I also think the same sort of iOS you have to be at the right iOS level on your phone.
Mhm.
You get a pop-up message as the owner saying, "Will you want to open up guest mode?" And so that's unique because you have control of it at that point. I do like the fact that you can set a bunch of defaults. You don't have to set up the thing like, do you want to allow all apps or do you want to allow only specific apps? Each time when you set it into guest mode, you used to have to set that up.
Yeah.
And so that change is really nice. And you can save that setup.
Oh yeah, it's so much better, so much better. So, and lastly, I wanted to talk about. We did mention last week that Metallica was going to have an immersive concert, and I didn't have a chance to see it yet on our last episode. But I wanted to give my review this week to the viewers and the listeners. That I must say it was pretty incredible. I felt like I was there. I was. It was a short 25 minutes. I wish it would have been longer. There was only 3 songs, and they did Enter Sandman, and they did Whiplash, and I got to there was a third song, and it was a pretty incredible. It was in Mexico City. It was their M72 World Tour, and the the video was just phenomenal. I was just thoroughly impressed. Um, I as the video started, you saw the band walking into the venue. It was a big stadium. There was lots of people there, and it was a lot of fun to watch. The drummer was just crazy. You could see the cameras, which was really cool, and being able to get a good view of it. Crazy views of fans where they would have some moments where they'd zoom right in on their faces, and when all the other band members were up on stage, you had some good good views there. James Hetfield was up there, and he was cranking away. Lars just hitting those drums hard, and uh, Kirk was on there doing some amazing things out there too, and it was just incredible. I mean, I felt like I was there. Like I can't even say it enough that I think this was a great start with a band as popular as Metallica, and being able to enjoy the music too. I mean, I was rocking. It was in there. So, what was your thoughts on it, Marty? When you watched it, I know you at first you were kind of next. You're not a big fan of Metallica, so
Yeah, for me, because you've kind of pretty well mentioned how the content and what to expect from it, and it's reported. You can read about that too. For me, the important part of this was it was proof of concept,
yes,
and the concept was we can shoot a live concert experience, give you an experience that you don't get in concert documentaries where they're just shooting still cams from a couple of positions and it's all flat essentially in what you're doing with your view. It's a proof of concept, and I hope it will encourage some more long form versions of this, where the concert is set up for that purpose. Maybe there's some revenue generating from that, and maybe it's also a kind of pay-per-view or pay to purchase the full concert on a device like an Apple Vision
I
Pro.
would do it.
I want to be in the room when Chuck finally gets to see it.
too.
That's what I want to be.
We'll probably have to wait till MacStock, but I hope it's sooner because that's when I come to you, Chuck.
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard all of the reviews, you've read all the reviews, you've heard Marty and I tell you all about the concert. Is that something are you going to be wanting to look at it sooner than later?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I planned as soon as I get to somewhere close to an Apple store,
Yeah.
I want to sign up for the demo because apparently that has now one song in the demo.
Right.
But the thing is, my imagination is running away with me because if you go to YouTube, you can find plenty of Metallica concert videos, and so it's an intense experience no matter where you have it. But I think within the Vision Pro, it's going to start getting in there with being there live in person. So I am really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But I'm enthused that Apple has embraced, that particular genre of music. I mean, yes, Metallica is, one of the major bands out there, no question. But it really, that kind of thing doesn't fit in most of Apple's musical wheelhouse from the past.
Yeah, Billie Eilish.
Well, Billie Eilish and U2 and Ray and, all this music that is close to elevator music. Sorry, but, I'm sure that offended somebody, and I'm sorry about that. But, so I'm looking forward to seeing just how intense this experience can be in that device.
Yeah.
So was this shot exclusively for the Vision Pro?
It was. There was 14 cameras around the entire stage and the arena. You had full views of the arena, and then you had cameras all over the stage. The coolest thing was Lars, the drummer, had a camera right behind him and right in front of him, and you were seeing him pounding away on that. I know. Marty had bugged you a little bit with the camera hitting the cymbal, that the way it was viewed, but that didn't bother me too much. But both guitar players were up at the edge of the stage, and you could see it perfectly. And then James came right up to the camera, and he's right in the middle of his riff, and it was a great experience. Is this something you would like to see, Guy? I mean, are you into the concerts like this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get to go to many concerts anymore.
Yeah.
I think the last one I went to was Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band, which was freaking awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
I would love to see a band like the Foo Fighters do something like this. I've seen some other concert footage of the Foo Fighters. Shocker, we're all of the age now where it's like whatever band we choose, our kids are going to be like, oh, that's just awful. But this is something that could be a whole new revenue stream for particular bands. Because you can only do so many concerts each year, but you get someone like a band that my daughter-in-law likes is My Chemical Romance, and she would certainly. I mean, she went to see them twice last year. She would certainly pay to see a version of them like that, done like that.
Yeah,
and the camera. I mean, this was in a stadium. So the cameras were suspended like you would imagine them suspended for a soccer match, and moving along the wire that way. So it was a real interesting. It's like I said, it's not a stationary video of the band playing. It's active. And Chuck, I know that if the demo, and I don't know about what the demo status is now, but if the demo only has one song in it, I really hope that you can connect with somebody with a headset or just beg the guys at the store to let you watch the whole concert, because just one song is good, but
you want the
whole concert gives you the movement of and the pattern of, let's talk to the band a little bit, let's get into a song, let's talk to the band a little bit more. So
yeah, for sure.
The only thing I truly regret that the Apple Vision Pro has come along and come to this point after KISS retired.
Yeah, I was just thinking that would have been. I'm not even a KISS fan, and that still would have been pretty amazing.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, just you don't have to be a KISS fan to appreciate.
Except KISS like 10 years ago.
Well, even recently,
Yeah, I saw some of their footage from their, end of the road tour or whatever they called it. And these are guys now in their mid 70s. They're really not doing it like they did, 20, 30 years ago. But, even 10 years ago, they were still going pretty hard.
Yeah.
I have never seen the B-52s, and they're on their final tour right now.
Wait, who's left in that band that's still alive?
Yeah.
Well, the B-52s, quite a few.
Yeah.
Because I thought the lead singer, the guy, I can't think of his name. I thought he passed away.
Yeah.
No, Fred is still alive.
Okay.
I think.
I remember seeing Devo at Macworld Expo. God, 2008, 2009 at the Microsoft party that they used to throw. That was amazing.
Yeah. Uh, got our chat room going here at youtube.com/in touch with iOS, and great to see Ben Rathick. We miss you, buddy. I know you couldn't make it on the show tonight, but he says finally a Vision Pro feature that I can get behind, and I would agree with that. And then he says, hopefully they can make Metallica the next Super Bowl act. I don't know, but that might be tough. But
I think they've pretty much turned that down.
Yeah, I don't know. You gotta be kind of mainstream these days if you're going to do the Super Bowl. But good to see you, Ben. But yeah, that's it for that. And then I think, and I know that the next concert we're probably going to see is going to be on May 30th. U2 has one that's planned at that point. So I'm hoping it's going to be a much longer concert. I wouldn't be at all surprised it was some footage might be from the Sphere in Vegas, which I got to experience in 2023. But we'll see. It's hard to say. They might be at a different venue and they did it somewhere else, but they really haven't said where and what just yet, but that's coming. So there's just more excitement to come when it comes to concerts, with the Vision Pro. I'm looking forward to it. So, let's go on and move on to beta this week. Apple did release iOS 18 beta 4 for the iPhone and iPad OS for the iPad. It's getting, I think it's getting a lot closer to be released. This is the fourth developer beta, and many of the upcoming features we've talked about. There's a lot of new things, including some CarPlay design changes. It allows you to have if you have a big enough screen, you'll have 3 rows instead of 2 icons on that, which is going to be nice to have extra things that you're getting. And it's what are your thoughts so far, Mario? Anything you caught that was standing out to you?
Well, unfortunately, when they release it, it'll be overshadowed by the fact of all the news regarding Apple Intelligence. That has kind of sucked the oxygen out of the room of it. Because they rolled out, this is when we're going to do this, and this with AI on Apple, and it's not going to make that rollout the way it is.
Right.
I enjoy it. I'm seeing or experiencing more and more of the AI features, email summarizations, messaging summarizations. All of those things seem to be more on cue now. So when I see something pop up from a colleague that's been trying to text me, it's summarized in nice short statements, and I kind of know before I open it what to expect. I guess I could just open it, but it's also nice to get that summary so I know where it's going.
Absolutely. And you have it on a 16E, so do I. And it seems pretty solid running on that, and it's got the 16E having a good display. It's been running gosh darn good, I must say. That's been your full timer lately, right? Your 16E.
Yeah, and I'm headed out next week to travel, and I think that's the phone I'm going to take with me. So I have a few more apps that I have to convert over that to make sure that they're functional on the 16E. Because right now I have to go to my Pro Max to get some information in some items. Like our security camera system in the house is hooked to that one. So I'm gonna play with it and get it up to speed, and we'll take it with me for a road trip.
Yeah.
So
for sure. Yes, Guy, I do have a 16E. I wasn't sure if you knew that because it was a trade in from another phone, and I was able to grab it for really cheap through T-Mobile. So so far so good. I think it's running pretty solid, and we'll see. We're getting real close to when that's going to be released. So we'll see where that goes. Also released was watchOS 11.4 as well as tvOS 18.4. Again, both those generally you don't have too much excitement with both of those. Those are just releases, probably bug fixes, and you really don't get to hear too much with the Apple TV. And you mentioned Apple Intelligence, Marty. We talked about it at great length last week for the John Gruber article. So sorry that wasn't going to really touch on that this week. I think everybody got a good dose of it last week. But yes, you're right. It has kind of overshadowed everything here. So, and one of the other things in 18.4 also, there is a a way it lets you turn off privacy compromising search feature. And it's a new Safari feature that puts your searches front and center, and it shows you recent search history whenever you open up a new tab, and then it shows it. When the feature first came out in 18.4 beta, there was no option to disable it, but now Apple has rectified that by allowing you to disable it if you so choose with history, because it can get kind of creepy. I haven't tried that. I don't know if have you tried that at all, Barney?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So
sorry to say.
Yeah, I haven't either. So, but more features. We'll be finding more features as it gets closer. But like I said, I think they're super close to be doing this. So we'll definitely see where that goes. So,
are you using it on your 16E?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am, because this is not my primary device. Like I've always said, don't put beta on your primary device.
Yeah, I should listen to that.
Why? Do you have a problem?
No, but I have been using the beta on my phone.
Yeah.
And every time it's like, do I want to do this? Yeah. Won't do it on my Mac, but I'll do it on my.
This is the first time I'm actually using a current device, because I would always have it on an older device. Like if I don't, the one I traded in was a 13 Pro Max, so it ran fine on it, but yeah, you don't get to see all the new features, especially Apple Intelligence, and all the other things. So, all right, let's move on here. Go into a bit of it in touch with Mac this week. A couple of interesting stories I found this week. There's a new Mac phishing attack that causes fake freezes to nab your Apple ID password. The attack attempts to get a user to enter their username and password by making it think it's their Mac is compromised. This is found by Layer X Labs this past week. New phishing attack. It was originally targeted for Windows users, so this is surprising that they would found it on the Mac. The phishing attack attempts to get that username and password for somebody and make the user think that the Mac is compromised. They did provide a screenshot of the phishing attempt, though the attackers may have modified this alert to make it more convincing. It has several tenable signs that it's fake, like the design doesn't look conforming to Apple's style and all that stuff.
Yeah, it looks like a Windows.
Yeah, it almost does. So obviously we know what to do. I tell people, how do you protect yourself from web phishing attacks? Just be careful. Verify the URL. Don't click it. Don't do fake things.
Right. When something like this comes up on your web page, just close the tab or close the browser or whatever.
Exactly. Don't fall for it.
Don't do anything with it.
The good thing is it doesn't have a payload. A lot of these things don't have a payload other than this one. This is more social engineering, because they get someone to put their username and password in, whereas sometimes on Windows it's got a payload, and it can put the big warning: your machine is locked until you get this fixed. But go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at it, even the warning, first when I saw it, I thought Johnny Ive would be upset the way this warning is designed.
Yeah.
And that would be the first cue. There's no skeuomorphism. And then they have like Apple _ macOS.
Yeah. Apple would never do that.
Apple would never do that either.
Yeah.
So, but we might have eyes for that. General public doesn't probably notice it and takes it in and is like, oh, I've done something bad. Let me clean this up right away, and they get caught in the scam.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you fall for this, there's probably a prince in Nigeria that would like to speak with you.
Yeah. How about you, Chuck? What do you think on this?
It fascinates me how creative they are getting to try to steal your information. And I at some point you start to wonder, okay, so they've stolen my information, and the whole thing is automated. So if they get in, they suck all the information out. And I wonder how many really useful pieces of information they get other than just identity theft credentials to sell. Any way you take it, it's pathetic. But the efforts to which that they go to get this stuff just fascinate me, and the way they try to think about how they can manipulate you into doing something that you ordinarily would never think of doing. Yeah. So I applaud the creative thinking, and then I condemn them and think they should be strung up by their thumbs for the
Pretty
action.
much.
At least their thumbs.
Yeah. Well,
I was trying to make this family friendly.
it's
Oh,
family
sorry,
friendly.
sorry.
Yes, it is family friendly.
Yeah, I think Dante would have discovered a 10th circle of hell for people who do phishing attacks.
Yeah.
And Ben said in the chat there, social engineering is always more effective than hacking. I would agree with that. So, all right, let's move on to the other story I had for Mac this week. Antivirus software. I know, Chuck, you've done some episodes on this before, and what can you trust? And I guess my question is, do you really need it? There's many different antivirus programs that are out there, and they're going to expect to protect you. Of course, in the enterprise, the corporate world, you do have to have some sort of antivirus of some sort, whether it be Proofpoint or CrowdStrike or any of those types of services that include all that stuff. So, but for the consumers, which ones really stand out that would be something very good? And, one of them I've always liked, I think, is ESET. That's probably one of the ones I've always stood out. There's a whole list of them here, and with Trend Micro and Avant and others. But do you really need it? It's my question. I never run any antivirus software. No, Chuck, you were talking about this in the past. What is your thoughts on the antivirus on a Mac?
Excuse me. So I think we have to take a step back and figure out what antivirus means, because it means different things to different people.
Yeah.
And because you have the things that clean things off, like Clean My Mac,
yeah.
and MacScan. I'm trying to think of the third one that I have used, but I think the basic rule is think about this. Is this cheap insurance for what you have? That's kind of the thing that I want to know. And the Macs are so powerful now that do you really see a degradation in performance while you're using them? Because that was one of the big things in the past, that you sacrificed a lot of performance for being safe.
Yeah.
That factor has gone now. So I think it has to come to a comfort level. What are you comfortable with, and who are you comfortable with as far as putting something on your Mac that is supposed to be protecting you? I mentioned MacScan. I'm very comfortable with MacScan. I'm very comfortable with Clean My Mac.
Yeah, me too.
From MacPaw, because that has some virus components in there. And again, there's some other ones out there. Just take a good hard look at it, do a little research, and find out who they are. And as much as I respect this list or lists put out by a lot of the major publications, that's not going to be good enough for me to just say, "Oh yeah, I'll take the number 1, 2, or 3 off the list."
Yeah.
Or
Norton. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Kaspersky.
Kaspersky.
Well,
You
yeah,
can't get it
yeah,
anymore here
so
in the U.S. anyway.
yes. So it's just look. Figure out if it's going to do anything detrimental to your Mac, and I don't mean like damage files, but detrimental in performance, convenience, that kind of thing. And then also take a good hard look at what you do with your Mac. And I'm not asking, I don't want to know what you do with your Mac. But it's like,
Right.
the two people you don't lie to in your life are your doctor and your lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Don't lie to yourself about this. If you visit sites that regularly that present a potential danger, then take precautions. Let's be adults about this. I don't care where you go, but you know where you go. And if you're going to engage in those, I'm not judging you. I'm telling you to protect yourself. That's all.
Yeah.
Right. Your lawyer's site, for example.
Yeah.
Not exactly what I was thinking, Guy, but okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marty, you any thoughts on this?
Yeah, like Ben Rathig in the chat room, I both use Clean My Mac and Malwarebytes. And Malwarebytes, not high on their list. I don't know if it was in a sequential order, but they do mention it as the top, one of the ones that they would recommend at the bottom. I mean, well, at the end of the article. I had an incident. I used to teach international teachers, and they would come to the U.S., and part of the grant that we were with, they would get new computers. and we get them from different countries, and different countries have different restrictions and a lot of things that you can't find through the internet there, through firewalls or whatever the country has set up. Well, these guys would come and I'd be working with them on the tech stuff. And the next day they'd come and they go, I don't know why all this porn is popping up on my machine. Because they were just going everywhere they could in open internet. And so quickly at that time used Malwarebytes with them to clean that stuff off. And whether they bought the service or not, they used the free edition a little bit. So I've kind of been very supportive of that. I tried other ones, and and I have to remind myself the thing is running in the background, and I'd go in and check it, and sure enough, been running for 6 months and no viruses. So it's sort of like, do I really need this or not? So I've gone down to clean my Mac and Malwarebytes.
And Malwarebytes, thank you, Marty. That was the one I was thinking of that was I was blanking on. So yes.
So you guys run Malwarebytes religiously as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's running. It doesn't hurt anything. I have not found any conflict or any issue with it. So kind of why not?
Oh, all right.
I haven't put anything, because I just recently got an M4 Pro Mac Mini, and I built it from scratch as far as apps and everything goes. I didn't pull anything from my old machine.
Mm-hmm.
I have not put anything like that on it yet, and I'm kind of wondering whether I will.
Yeah. No, I mean, but it's probably running a lot smoother, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's
well.
Go ahead.
I think the advantage here is you can make a decision whether you want it to run in the background or just turn it on when you feel like you need to scan it and clean it. Both for Malwarebytes and also for Clean My Mac. You don't have to keep them running in the background. Right. But as Chuck mentioned, the processing is so fast right now, it doesn't seem to steal anything from the workflow if you have it running in the background.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right, let's move on. The next topic I wanted to hit on was the end-to-end encryption for RCS messaging on the iPhone is coming in a future software update. This was in collaboration with the GSM Association. Apple did announce that it was adding support for that end-to-end encryption for RCS messages, and will bring RCS even much closer to iMessage in terms of security standards. The RCS in Universal Profile 3.0 is including that end-to-end encryption, which was just released. This was released about this last week. So as we record, so it is out. So it looks like Apple is going to, in a future update, going to get this out and finally add to the security here. So. Apple said in a statement to 9 to 5 Mac here, it says end-to-end encryption is a powerful privacy and security technology that iMessage has supported since the beginning, but now we're pleased to have helped lead a cross-industry effort to bring end-to-end encryption to RCS. And that this is a good thing, and it's going to be on future releases for iOS, iPadOS, macOS, and watchOS for any future software updates. So we should be looking forward to that, because I think was very important to have that. Hey, all these years it took to get Apple to have RCS on messaging in the first place was a long time coming, and it's finally having our friends that are unfortunately have Androids, but now at least it's you're getting the same experience besides green bubble, of course. Guy, what do you think on this?
As long as everyone else in your group chats are also using it, it's great. Yep. I've heard some horror stories about some of these little chat rooms that people are using to communicate back and forth suddenly doubling and tripling, and somebody will lose a signal or it's too weak, and it just goes ahead and says, oh, okay, and it switches it back to SMS, and then then it just becomes a mess. Literally, it becomes a mess, and it's going to take some time until everyone is using it at the same time, and some of these bugs go away. But in order to bring Apple kicking and screaming into the standards world, this is probably a really good idea.
Yeah, agreed. How about you, Chuck? Is this something that you think this is definitely important, don't you think?
Well, listen, I think I think it's consistent with Apple's stance on privacy
Mhm.
and security for its users. It extends out a little bit out to some other folks, who we might be chatting with. Um, Again, I haven't experienced what Guy's talking
Me either.
about, so it's going to remain to be seen whether there are any downsides to it. But other than that,
Mm.
if it's as transparent as I understand it to be, it's great. You know,
Yeah. Marty?
I still think folks should buy an iPhone as opposed to an Android. But
Would agree with
if you
that.
have to buy an Android,
Would agree with that.
I've got I'm in a mixed tech family. My immediate family are all Apple users. I have a nephew and his wife who live in town that are Android users, and this had made our group chat much easier to do, and I'm grateful for that. I think, sometimes when Apple holds out on things, it's more powerful than them trying to push a position. And they held out on, or said they were holding out on this for a while, and they were really holding out on it so that till the platform was established that it was going to be this platform and that it was also going to allow for end-to-end encryption.
Mhm.
So when those two things came in, they jumped on it right away as quickly as they could, and it's better press for them now, I think.
Yeah.
Well, also the EU suing them
Yeah.
to start using it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But something to be aware of, and be happy that you're getting good security here. So, next story I want to talk about here, and the topic, I should say. Uh, Look, they did a bit of a comparison. We haven't really talked about this. This is the new C1 modem. How does it stack up against the iPhone 16 Qualcomm modem? Uh, the 16E includes this is Apple's first ever custom designed C1 modem, and since it's a new chip category for Apple, there's been questions about how the C1 measures up to the Qualcomm modems that Apple have been using for years, and turns out Apple's 16E iPhone 16E performs almost as well, if not better, than this iPhone 16 in many speed tests. They got a chart here talking about some of the speed tests in different categories here, and it looks like different carriers are you're seeing different results between whether Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile for that matter, and found some tests here, like for instance, T-Mobile had download speeds of 264 megabits a second, while users of the 16 saw median speeds of 357, which was a 24% increase in speed. So you may be seeing some differences between the carriers, but I think this is a good try to see what Apple can do, and I wouldn't be all surprised in the next iPhone, the iPhone 17, as we probably can assume, if they decide to put that C1 or maybe even a C2 modem. We don't know. Marty, have you I haven't tried much as far as cellular on the 16E, but have you noticed anything with its performance?
Yeah, well, it's the magic of having a new phone. Everything feels faster. This data, if accurate, kind of shows that it is faster. What I am most impressed about is the speed tests across different cellular providers.
Right.
The 16E is pretty much peaking across all the different providers, where the iPhone 16 varies depending on what provider is being used in terms of speed tests. So
Yeah.
it's consistent across providers, and it's fast and faster than a lot of 16.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think on this, Chuck? Is this something that you think Apple's going to excel with this?
I don't know. I mean, they've tried to get away from some of the other motor manufacturers for so long. This feels like, just one more little inching forward of Apple making at least some of its hardware in-house, or controlling the manufacturing. There was just a piece today that came out that said that this modem performs better on some of the wireless carriers than others. Um, Ironically, in some cases it beat the other 16 models. In other cases, the other 16 models beat it, depending on which carrier you have. I'm not sure that any of it is relevant. I think that's more for the statistics geeks. But I'm anxious to see, because this is just the first generation of this. And there've been all kind of articles about, well, what they could do with it, what they might do with it. How will the second generation be better? So, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Excuse me. I'm choking tonight for some reason. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I think that
Getting so emotional about a modem chip.
well, I don't have much of a life, Guy. So, yeah, I think, again, anything that Apple can control from the supply chain standpoint is in their favor.
How about you, Guy? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Apple has always been a fan of controlling the whole widget, and their last attempt got them sued by Qualcomm. And I think that as time goes on, more and more of what Apple is going to be put into their various devices is going to be custom silicon that they have complete control over. And in the long run, that makes for the most part, a better experience for us, because instead of buying something in mass that everyone is using, they can tailor it to the device or the service that they're trying to provide.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I just did it. I just did a speed test, and I used the speed test, the measurement lab that Google uses, and I get like 2 or 3 bars in my house with T-Mobile, and it still gave me 123 to 126 download and about 3 megabit upload, which that's typical of cellular. But latency was only 1 millisecond, so that's pretty fast with that. So is that the modem? Hard to say, but it's good. I think
well, you can do it between 2 different phones.
I can.
The 2 different modems.
I can match it and see what happens. So, interesting stuff here.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah, interesting stuff here. So we'll see where that goes. I don't usually talk too much about futures iPhones, but I think I thought this was interesting to see where this goes. It might be a good discussion with us. Future iPhones might ditch this USB-C port. A portless iPhone is the first step of the road of a better world. I don't know if I agree with that. The author had a revelation that maybe we should think of something like a portless iPhone. With the advent of MagSafe on this, that's one thing. But my question would be, what if you want to be able to, let's say, offload some photos off of your iPhone and not have a port? How would you do it? Or do you do it over the Wi-Fi? Do you do it in the cloud? Do you want to be at the mercy of the cloud? So I don't know what we would do with it. No ports. I just don't know if we're ready just yet. There are no phones that I'm aware of that are portless at this point, regardless if it's iPhone or Android. So I'd like to see what your guys' thoughts on this. Go ahead, Chuck. I wanted to see what you thought.
Dave, when I saw this, I started thinking, my first reaction was, as someone who likes to use their devices to record audio and video with external microphones, that, this is not a good idea. Then I turned around and thought realistically, okay, except for that, what else do I plug in to my iPhone port? I don't charge it via the plug-in. Or by the USB-C. We know that the USB-C gives you expanded storage, but okay, so you could get expanded storage by going over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It's not as convenient and definitely won't be as fast. So you would lose that capability. But beyond that, it's like, well, okay, if my port stopped working or something got blocked up in there, I'm not sure it would really hurt me that much. And this is another one of those Apple things that we get rid of the ports. We get rid of, we have a smooth piece of glass on all sides, and that's going to be our iPhone. That would be fantastic, unless it is not practical. But on the other hand, your comment about the photos, I really hadn't thought about that, because I'm already dumping my photos to iCloud, and frankly, even if I were trying to get my photos off my phone, I'm not sure I would use it in that fashion. To take the photos off. I probably would be airdropping them or doing something like that.
Right.
So I guess I want to hear what everybody else says, because
Yeah.
I can't think of what else I would lose.
Yeah. Go ahead, Marty. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm just excited because it gives all those people that we pulled screaming and kicking into the Bluetooth earbud world, away from the attached earphones. Another thing to complain about. I don't know. I rarely hook my phone up to anything in terms of, occasionally I have to go into iMazing and I need to hook it into my computer, but there's no reason why that couldn't be done without a direct way of doing it. So I can understand it will save some space. It will save some port problems. There's going to be less external structure to break because somebody jammed a pencil in there or something. Yeah, we'll see what they do with it. There's no way to predict about it.
Yeah.
But all of my stuff is on the cloud and never really syncs to any hardware device or charges to through any hardware device.
Yeah.
So,
How about you, Guy?
I think that getting rid of the USB-C port is a solution in search of a problem.
Mhm.
I think that having the USB port gives you some capabilities, especially with charging. If you don't have, a Qi charger or whatever that's relatively close by, you can always count on being able to plug it in via your USB-C port. A lot of times, some places, like where I work, for example, you can't use Bluetooth and you can't use Wi-Fi. So you have to have a physical connection. And if I want to listen to something through headphones, I've got my handy little USB-C to headphone adapter that I can plug into an iPad. I can plug it into an iPhone and listen to whatever it is that I want to listen to on those devices without getting in trouble for using some kind of technology that is being frowned upon where I work, or hopefully will continue to work. Um, I think that keeping the USB-C port is a good idea, and I don't think that the author of this particular article, I think he was looking to shock and to raise some controversy where I don't think there really is any.
There isn't any. I grabbed it because I wanted to hit the topic and see what people thought and what you guys
Right.
thought, and I think we succeeded with this, and more so just the preference. But yeah,
Keep the port.
yeah, I'm on the fence. I think I want the port still.
Well, Guy brings up an interesting point, though, and so I would submit that there are situations where you're not allowed to use Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and that's a great point, Guy, that I hadn't considered. My question is, though, what percentage of the iPhone users out there are subject to those restrictions?
Oh, probably very, very few.
Yeah.
But it's not so much that there's a lot of people who are restricted by it. It's also how many people prefer to have that security blanket, and having USB-C there gives them certain not opportunities, certain capabilities that otherwise without it they wouldn't have.
Right.
Like for physical charging in the event that that they can't use their MagSafe charging capabilities.
Right. Okay, that was good topic here. So let's go ahead and move on to the news for this week. There was a report that Apple TV Plus is losing 1 billion, that's a B, annually for Apple's as Apple services falter.
What?
Yeah, Apple is hemorrhaging money amidst a broader stall in Apple services. This is according to a new report from the information, and they revealed that Apple TV Plus is the only Apple subscription service that is not profitable, while its subscriptions grew to around 45 million last year. It's still losing about 1 billion annually. The company has spent over $5 billion a year on content since launching in 2019. That kind of explains it. But then this reduced by $500 million in 2024 in response to pushing cutbacks from CEOs Tim Cook's other executives. Cook apparently raised questions last year about several movie deals that Apple TV Plus executives including the action comedy Argyle, and that movie had Henry Cavill and Dua Lipa, and it was over 200 million to produce. So let's face it, the Apple TV Plus is investing a ton of money on new content, and it's a lot of great content. But I guess they are losing money. But all the other services, I guess that they're the profitable category. And they say with their gross margins are about 75% compared to just under 40% for hardware. So, and this is the most recent fiscal year. And these numbers, of course, you got a question because this is where people get reports. So Apple Music, Apple News Plus, Apple Arcade, and iCloud Plus, all are staying profitable. I mean, I see the fact that the Apple TV Plus could be that this could be valid only because, like I said, Apple is investing a ton of money in a lot of great new content, and we're getting some great movies and great series, and they do invest a lot into it. But I guess it's going to pay itself off in the long run because they're putting themselves on the map with this kind of entertainment. I'm going to start with you, Chuck. What do you think of this?
It brings in people that are going to buy the hardware.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chuck. I was going to start with you first.
Sorry.
It's okay.
No, that's okay. Dave, so Apple TV Plus, I just looked it up to be sure I was right, is 5 years old.
Right.
So maybe they got a little over ambitious. Maybe, and we all know they came out just as the pandemic was kind of starting to rain fire on us, which didn't help the launch of it. It's not an excuse, it's just a fact. So let's just say they are losing $1 billion. Well, $1 billion is a lot of money, but to Apple, who is notable for their long-term focus on things. And it feels like maybe, okay, they got a little bit excited and maybe didn't spend some money wisely.
Right.
I mean, I saw Argyle, and Argyle was okay, but not for that kind of price tag. I didn't think it was worth that. But we're seeing a lot of quality come out of Apple TV Plus. And so I feel like if they're in it for the long game, which I think they are, I mean, 5 years is not a lot of time for a lot of tech opportunities or entertainment opportunities to become profitable. So, yeah, it may be some growing pains, and maybe they've paid for some lessons that they really maybe didn't need to learn, but they have learned. Now, the last reports I saw, they were restricting some of the really big budget stuff and trying to make it a little more cost controlled. And as long as they're telling good stories, I think it'll pay off in the long run.
Yeah. Go ahead, Guy. What did you want to add to that?
I was going to ask Chuck, what are your thoughts on them buying Paramount?
I would love to see it, but I think that it's fraught with danger.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said for the way they're doing it now, where they're cherry picking, what they want to have on their service and what they want to back. If they bought Paramount, obviously they would get the Star Trek franchise, which I would love to see because I'd like to think that they would be better stewards than anybody else have been of that franchise. I'm not enough of a student of Paramount to know what else would come with it.
Well, their entire catalog.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
new stuff.
What's in Paramount's entire catalog? I really don't know.
Well, I mean, they go back to the early aughts of the last century. But honestly, as far as Apple TV goes, Apple has been kind of a victim of their own success. They've gotten a lot of good press with some of their movies that have gotten Oscar nominations, and their TV shows have been winning Emmys. But awards don't necessarily bring eyeballs. So if they want to start cutting back, start looking at the stuff that they've had since like the very beginning that's been costing them some money, that is only going to get more expensive as time goes on, and think outside the box. Start like one that, and I didn't really watch it that much myself, but the series they had with the town that was like going into song all the time, it apparently wasn't great, but it was an example of thinking outside of the box and going where somebody else hasn't already, tread the same water for the last 50 or 60 years. Who needs another I Dream of Jeannie or Bewitched or Friends or, all of these shows that have been retread year after year? Do the things that are different. Will you hit a home run every single time? No. But more often than not, you'll probably get some pretty good gems out there. And it won't be the same thing as what everybody else is doing.
All right.
Yeah, Guy, the one point I would make about the Paramount thing is that Apple really hasn't been in the legacy show business.
They need to.
Well, do they? I mean, that's a differentiator. Do I really want to pay for them having a legacy content when
Well,
I can?
you're paying to see content, and they can't afford to make hours and hours or months and months of new content every single month. So some people are like logging into the service, streaming everything that they have, and then they're moving on to some other service. But if they have some of their more popular TV shows that they've enjoyed in the past, or stuff that maybe didn't get a second chance, as it was just there for a season or two and then gone. Well, that's basically something that's going to come up in search results for people that are looking for different types of content.
Yep.
But if it's just the stuff that Apple is producing and Apple is making, you can only go so far with that.
Yeah.
Content is king.
But I would submit to you that a lot of that kind of content right now you can get on Pluto TV or
Sure.
I think it's Tubi, and you pay nothing.
Right.
All you have to do is watch the commercials.
Right. But with
And
Apple
so-
TV, you don't have to watch the commercials.
Yeah, well,
Right. But are the people that are into that kind of legacy stuff, do they really mind paying for the commercials? I don't.
Don't know.
I mean, I think it's an individual choice.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a bit of a differentiator that they don't have it, that you almost are going to Apple TV intentionally. And I can only speak for myself, but I have an embarrassing number of Apple TV shows on my watch list that I just haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
And I really want to. They're great shows. I just can't quite
get the time.
find the time to do it.
Yeah.
So
Let's get Marty in.
Well, this is a golden age for new content.
It is.
Yeah.
Let's get Marty in here. Go. You want to add the last thought on this?
Well, when I read the article, my concerns with the kind of comparisons that they were making in the article. So they say Apple TV's been around for 5 years. They predicted losses between 15 billion and 20 billion over the first decade. Well, that means Apple's doing better than prediction if they're losing only 1 billion a year.
That's true.
And they also say most streaming services lose money.
Yeah, it is true.
So where's the
Where's the
fire that
drawback?
we have to put up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the fire we have to put out? The comments in this article were pretty brutal, and I think it represents some of the problems that people see or don't see with Apple TV. Some of the comments were, man, I love everything they do. Here's a whole list of wonderful shows. But when I share it with my friends and say, you really need to see this, they kind of go, oh, Apple TV. Because they're not connected to the Apple universe in that sense. The article talks about 1% actually have it. They talk about how it's attached onto Apple One, so people don't necessarily use it. They're all in for Apple One for the cloud, but they're not using the service. The article is kind of fraught with all sorts of bad assumptions as it's written. I like the content. I don't, there's some talk in the chat room about, and you guys have mentioned buying Paramount.
Mm-hmm.
I would get Apple TV whether they had Paramount or not. And with Paramount, not just the Star Trek series, but there's a lot of things that Paramount and the associated companies with Paramount have that are problematic. And so they also take on the problems. I think Apple TV should get out of the movie making business. I agree with Guy. They had an Academy Award then. Doesn't necessarily bring more people to it. It solidifies maybe the folks who are already there. But they should be purchasing content from other developers instead of sinking especially $200 million into movies and taking a shot at it. I'd rather see more short form series on Apple TV than long form films. So,
all right, let me get Ben's comments in here from the chat room. Right now the only streaming service without ad revenue. So Apple TV Plus does not have ads, and then Paramount would also come with the overhead and their cable networks as well as the CBS network as well. So I don't know if you really want to get into that world. So that'd be a question.
Well, Paramount is separate from Viacom.
I think the CBS network is included with the Paramount Plus, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But let me see if Ben said anything here. So that it all depends. And hey, Cletus in the chat room, thanks for being here. So late is okay. You're great. You're here. So it's hard to say. I'm not sure about that. But I would probably say I thought it was part of it because Skydance is the one that's trying to purchase them now, and they would be purchasing everything, from my understanding. So, but all right, let's go ahead and move on.
Hey,
okay, go ahead. One last word.
Hey, Dave.
Go ahead.
Do you mind if I do a quick Apple TV Plus pick?
Yes, please.
Okay. Has anybody seen The Gorge, the movie? The Gorge?
No, not yet.
Apple
I've
TV
seen a
Plus?
lot of stuff on it.
My son keeps saying, "You got to see it, Dad. You got to see it."
You got to see
So
it.
it's on my wait list. Watch list.
I promise, no spoilers. I will tell you this: it has two components to it that immediately would turn me off and send me another direction, and it is done so well that I love this movie. And so, if you haven't seen it, it has not got. It's the one thing Apple TV Plus does not do a good job of is publicizing some of this stuff. But put it on your watch list.
Right,
you will not be
We'll
disappointed.
have a link in the show notes. Thanks for sharing that, Chuck. We appreciate it. Next story, Plex is going to raise prices for Plex Pass, and it's no longer going to offer free remote playback for personal media. Plex announced this week as we record that it's raising the prices of that subscription service. It's the first price increase. It's introduced in over a decade. So it's going to be April 29th that the Plex Pass will start cost $6.99 a month or $69.99 a year with a lifetime purchase option available for $249.99. Oof, I paid a lot less than that when I got it. Right now, the lifetime pass is $120, so you may want to scoop that up before they raise that price. So Plex says that it needs to raise prices to keep up with the rising costs, and that's pretty typical. Along with the increasing prices, it's like I said, they just can't offer things for free like that. And remote playback for piece of personal media, it's not going to be a free service anymore. So I've been a Plex user for quite a long time. I purchased the lifetime membership. I think I paid under $100 for it. And that doesn't affect the lifetime subscribers. You get to still stay what you're doing, and not going to cost anything. What do you think on this, Chuck?
I'm not a subscriber to the Plex Pass, so I really don't have an opinion, other than to just say it just seems to be following the trend.
It is.
Everything's getting a little more expensive, and they're going to try to squeak out a little more. I always wonder what's the jumping off point for people.
Yeah.
Are they going to just let the credit card roll, or are they going to say, "Hey, wait a minute, am I really getting the value for this?"
Yeah. Marty, do you have Plex?
I got onto Plex thinking this will be great. This was when I was ripping DVDs that were sent to me in the mail by Netflix every couple of days. And, I never got them loaded onto a server now that I have a Synology, it's like, well, yeah, I could probably set that up there.
I got it set up.
But I did a count because I was curious how many movies I have that I've purchased on Apple TV. I have 750 movies on Apple TV. And it's like, I can just get that stuff, bypass the ripping, bypass all of that, and just purchase it. And I don't own the content, but I have the content. and I have it through a device in a system that I'm comfortable with. I do have a Plex Pass, and I have to remind myself to go in and check on it. And there's some quaint TV shows on there that you can find and you can do,
Yeah.
but I'm not using the portion that everybody talks about, which is the streaming delivery.
Right.
However, lifetime for 120, I might have to purchase that and not use it for the rest of my life.
I bought it a number of years ago. I think I got it under $100. So, Guy, do you have a Plex? Do you use that at all?
Yeah, but I'm most, I'm following along with what Marty said. Yeah, that was my idea for a while too. And I just found I didn't have the time or the space or the inclination to go through all the work to get it done. So yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Two more stories real quick. Amtrak, I don't talk to Am about Amtrak too much. They did redesign their iPhone app, much easier access to train status, tickets, and more. What's new with the app is your passengers can now get their train status, schedule adjustments, and that's right in the reservation within 24 hours of an active trip. Station to station train tracker, so that's progressing with the route. New My Trips feature, so it allows passengers to view their content and updating upcoming and past trips, as well as the train routes are with assigned seating. You could do that too. So good to see. I don't know. I don't think I remember the last time I took an Amtrak train, but no,
I do.
That's right. You would take it to MacStock sometimes.
Yeah.
So this is good to see. I think Amtrak is getting more popular. I mean, people just not wanting to fly, and they would just like to enjoy going across the country on an Amtrak train. What do you think on this guy?
They need more routes.
They do that too.
Right now, they just opened the Floridian route that goes directly from Chicago all the way down to Miami. But that once you hit Washington D.C., it's not that different from the Cardinal or some of the other train routes that they have going all the way down. The biggest problem with Amtrak is not all of their trains actually have Wi-Fi. So to have an app that will tell you all these things as you're, traveling across North Dakota or wherever, in theory sounds great, but if you can't connect that app up to Amtrak services, then there's really not much point. I'm glad that they've gone to the trouble to update it and put some of these features in, but I would like to see things like Chicago down to New Orleans or Washington, D.C. across to Texas, things like this, rather than yet another new app. And there's a private train company called Brightline that just opened up new services from Miami all the way to Orlando. And it's supposed to be fantastic. And I think they're doing some stuff. I think they're doing LA or something like that to Vegas as well.
Nice. That's not a bad trip.
So, it wouldn't hurt Amtrak to have a little bit of competition to put some of these services in and some of these new routes that they just don't seem to be willing to do.
Yeah. Chuck or Marty, want anything to this?
I'm surprised that Guy does not know the song "Riding on the City of New Orleans."
I do know that song.
Well, that's Chicago to New Orleans. And it's
I was just naming cities off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but,
okay. Because I used to take that to go to college and come home, but that was 40 years ago. So I haven't ridden on an Amtrak in a while, and living near Cleveland now, Amtrak comes through east-west at like 3:00 in the morning. So I discourage people from taking the train.
certainly from Cleveland.
I have to go pick them up.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I'll just throw in that, I think that Amtrak, and I freely admit I have not looked at the Amtrak app for a long time. This makes me want to go back because the last time I did, I felt like it was really wanting in comparison with the airline apps. From the scheduling standpoint, from all the, easy access to information. I've looked at this. I feel like it's gotten a lot better, and it makes me long for the trips I used to take to New York on the train because it's a very, very pleasant way to travel. And it's other than just making sure you're there on time to hit it, because the trains run pretty much on time. I would love to use this as an excuse to get back to doing some of that.
You should.
Yeah. Take the train to Chicago.
Say that until you have say that until you have me sleeping next to you and snoring.
You better bring your sleep machine.
That was a picture I really didn't need under any circumstances, Marty.
It's very comfortable drive or ride.
Yeah. I think I'm scarred, David.
Yeah. I think that's a good transition. We're about to wrap up the show here, but before we go, I want to make sure everybody's aware of MacStock. MacStock 9 is happening. It's July 11th, 12th, and 13th. We would love to see you there. Many of us here are going to be there this year, and it's going to be a phenomenal session. It's
always is
3 days, July 11th, 12th, and 13th. Something new this year. He's going to be intertwining the workshops within the whole weekend. So we're not just going to have one day of workshops and then the rest of the weekend is talks. So now we're going to have intermingling of workshops among all of the days of the sessions, all 3 days. So that's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of great speakers be coming soon. We wait to hear those announcements soon about that. But I just want to make sure you go. There's a link in the show notes here. Make sure you go and you should be purchasing your tickets now because there's early bird pricing right now. Usually it's $449. It's going to be down to an early bird price of $399, and that's a deal for 3 straight full days of great sessions from anything related to Mac technology, and a lot of our great friends will be there. You might be able to meet some new friends. So please come take a look at it. It's MacStock Conference and Expo.com. Like I said, link in the show notes, and come check us out. We're going to have a blast. I can't wait. It's good. It's
yep. Take the train.
Take the train too. That's what we talked about. So it's about a little over 110 days left before we have MacStock. So I can't wait. So,
and get some Chicago Italian style beef.
Yes.
Right.
That plenty.
And don't put ketchup on your hot dogs.
Ketchup on hot dogs either. So, all right. So come check it out. MacStockConferenceandExpo.com. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky and Mastodon. That's at InTouchWithIOS. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and be notified when we're live streaming, which is on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. A shout out to Ben. Sorry, it was a bummer you couldn't make it with us, but I'm glad you were here to chat with us, as well as Cletus. Good to see you, Cletus, as well. So thanks for being here this week, and you can be here live with us too during that time. You can also go to Flipboard and find out more about our magazine here, which is at the link is in our show notes. We flip a lot of the stories in for that, and check that out. It's and other topics. Go check that out, and then you also can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, which includes Pocket Casts, Overcast, and Apple Podcasts. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com. All the links to all the ways to listen to us are right there on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Blue Sky and Mastodon at DaveG65. Guy Serle, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Where can people?
Thanks for inviting me. I've had a really, really good time. Of course, I'm still doing the great, wild, woolly, and wonderful MyMac.com podcast. With Gaz Maz. We've been having such a good time doing that show. I actually did one 2 weeks ago with Jeff Gamet while Gaz was away. If you'd like to reach out to us there on the show, you can Guy and Gaz over there in Blue Sky and over there on Twax, as well as myself. I'm Vert Shark over there on Twax and Blue Sky. And that's usually the best ways to get a hold of us.
Twax. I don't know. Okay.
Twax, yeah.
Twitch X. Okay, got it.
Right.
All right.
Twax.
Oh.
I figured it right out, Chuck. Chuck Joyner, thank you so much for being here, and a good way to follow up on that one. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I can't follow Schwax. MacVoices.com is where you can find everything I do. We are in the midst of a conversation with some guy named Marty Jencius about podcasting. We just had Mike Potter on, kicking off our Road to MacStock series. So there's a lot going on over there. You can find me on social media as @ChuckJoyner. You can find the live show Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/MacVoicesTV with everybody here. When Guy is always welcome when he shows up. And I want to declare here and now that I'm bipartisan. I put ketchup and mustard on my hot dog.
Oh, sacrilege.
Don't be in Chicago.
I may not be
Don't do
invited
it.
back.
What is it? Portillo's?
Portillo's, yeah.
Yeah, Portillo's.
Don't do it in Chicago.
there.
Don't do it in Chicago.
Yeah.
Marty Jencius, thank you for being here as always. We really love having you. And where can people find you?
So many questions, like what makes a guy's podcast woolly?
Or twax.
Yeah. Okay. Please don't check.
You asked for that, Marty.
And if you're going to do a Chicago dog, it has to have relish and celery salt on it. That's what makes it a Chicago dog. You can find me at Jencius, Jencius, at Blue Sky, and also at mastodon.social. And find all the podcasts at thepodtalk.net. It's one that I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing them all, but the one with Eric on Mondays at 9 p.m. on YouTube, Vision Profiles, where we talk about Vision Pro headsets and other AR, VR stuff, which is very cool. And I think you might even have a few of the old Mac gang listening to your show tonight,
Nice,
Dave,
okay.
because I had been texting them, and
Nice.
we're going to have an old Mac gang person probably come to MacStock too.
Good deal.
Nice.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Hello, old Mac gang guys. Glad. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're on the YouTube channel, yes, we'd love to have you on here. So thanks, Marty. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And Chuck, thank you for that, for the pod. I got into the car this afternoon coming home from work and looked for new podcasts. And the one that we did on podcasting was showed up at the top. So
There you go.
I started listening. So thanks for that.
Better go.
It was a great surprise
Go
today.
listen to it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for watching, listening, supporting the show. We really appreciate it. We love doing this show, and we're going to be back again next week. But until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.